Fallout London gets a bombshell update. 2K's unannounced game could be the spiciest remake yet, and it turns out we've all been getting something very wrong in Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm Ash Dixon, and this is Ginx News. Fallout London looks like it's finally ready to launch. That's right, after 5 years of development and subsequent delays, thanks to Bethesda's Fallout 4 update, the volunteer-made mod is in QA testing. Now, originally, it was thought that Fallout 4 update looked like it could potentially jeopardize all of that work. Thank God, because it seems that ain't the case. That's according to Team Folon, who tweeted this official statement, much to the relief of everyone who loves Fallout. They said, the bottom line is that we've sent several builds over to GOG for QA testing and are waiting for the final green light. Once they've completed the process of double checking that Fallout London and its installer work on all supported machines, we should be good to go. They're yet to announce an official date, which is probably wise considering how they've been bitten in the past, but there's a hell of a lot to get excited about. We've obviously got an entirely new setting and storyline, and Neil Newbon, who plays Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3 and who won Best Performance at this year's Game Awards, is confirmed to be part of the voice cast. And it might just be the perfect time for Fallout London to come out. Interest in Fallout 4 has spiked since the release of the Amazon TV series, and enough time has passed since the update that we're all very much hungry for more. But while this is all ear candy for those playing on PC, it's bad news for those on console, as the mod's just too big to run on even current gen consoles. We're talking about 30 to 40 gigs, which is what prompted Team Folon to send it to GOG, as it's too big for even Nexus mods. But hey, when you think about it, London is pretty big, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. And man, I'm interested to see what they do with the British setting. Will the bottle cap currency be replaced by Werther's originals? Perhaps Vault Boy will instead be Vault Chap. Or maybe there were no vaults, they all just fled to the warm, polluted embrace of the London Underground. Either way, Fallout 5 ain't coming anytime soon, so I reckon an absolute ton of people will give it a go. And you know what else you should give a go? Our Patreon, Ginx Plus, support the channel and get exclusive content. Let's move on. A Bioshock remake, a Borderlands remake, or dare I say it, a remake of The Darkness. These could all be new games in the works over at 2K. I say new games, the definition of that phrase has definitely been stretched due to the bombardment of remasters and remakes over the last few years. But we know it's happening because over on LinkedIn, a motion capture animator has stated they've been working on an upcoming remake that's yet to be announced. And 2K only has a select number of qualifying games, so let's have a little ponder, shall we? Arguably, the most obvious choice would be Bioshock. It was a smash hit, it's widely regarded as an absolute classic, and few games since have matched the awe of descending into Rapture for the very first time. It was a masterpiece hybrid of first-person shooter, RPG, and horror, and considering it's, get ready to feel old, 17 years old, it's ripe for a full remake. Now, we know a new Bioshock game is in development right now. That was announced all the way back in 2019, and we've basically heard nothing since. Some people have speculated that maybe this is in fact the remake, but it is being made by a new studio called Cloud Chamber, who was founded to, quote, create yet to be discovered worlds and their stories within that push the boundaries of what is possible in the video game medium. But then again, a new Bioshock game in general doesn't really fit that criteria either, so who knows. Either way, Bioshock holds up amazingly today, so there's still the question on how much is actually worth remaking. Another prospect is a game I hold close to my heart. Borderlands. I loved that game so much growing up. I had multiple playthroughs with different friends on different platforms. I loved the art style and all the different guns, and man, the soundtrack was just super immersive, and that's not just because it introduced me to Cage the Elephant. Plus, with a Borderlands movie coming out, that could line up very well, though it would basically have to be shadow dropped considering the film is out in like a month's time. And while I recognize that a lot of the sequels were fundamentally better games, for me, nothing would beat the experience of landing on Pandora for the very first time. And man, imagine the OG Borderlands cast with super interesting, fleshed out talent trees, rampaging around a Pandora beautifully rebuilt from the ground up. Yes, please. Though it's important to remember that 2K has a few more niche IPs as well. Anyone else remember The Darkness, the spooky first-person shooter where you were assisted by those dark, demonic, tentacle snake boys? Man, the internet would have a field day making fan art for that one. Plus, you could bring back Mike Patton to do a whole new round of godlike, monstrous voices. Basically, 2K had a solid selection to pick from, and that's where I want to bring it all back to you. What remake would you love to see from 2K? Maybe it's a game I didn't mention. Do let me know down in the comments. It's time for the quickfire round, and we're going to start with everyone's cheekiest of scamps, Hideo Kojima. The man who shared more Easter eggs than the Easter Bunny tweeted this poster for the Tokyo Game Show, which I know doesn't mean anything in isolation, but when you consider that, A, this probably means that Kojima will be there, and B, this will be the first time that Sony have appeared at the show for 5 years, the year that Death Stranding came out. This could be a sign that we'll be getting some Death Stranding 2 news at the event. I'm willing to bet money on this, but you'll just have to subscribe to find out if I become even more broke. Just hit that subscribe button and YouTube will do the rest. Moving on, the most delayed video game of all time is finally out. Keen, an action platformer for the Game Boy Advance, has been in development for 22 years. It started off with a small group of mates who had never developed a game before, and it was actually ready to go within a few years. But because it just cost too much to ship on Game Boy cartridges, publishers just had no interest in it. Well, fast forward a couple of decades, and a publisher called Incubate has taken the plunge, and we can now buy the physical copy or the digital version, which you can play on an emulator. And after such a grueling, heroic journey to see the light, is it any good? 6 out of 10. And finally, it would be remiss to end the first show of the week without mentioning Shadow of the Erdtree, because it turns out we've been pronouncing something wrong this whole time, and that something is just the biggest, most important thing of the whole DLC. Most of us have been calling it Scadutree, which makes sense because that's how it's bloody spelled, but according to FromSoft expert Vati Vidya, it should be pronounced
Shadutree.
So now you know. And you know what else you should know? It's the end. Bye.